Welcome to the first online public workshop for the Hoosick Road Corridor Study. I'm Phil Harrington, Supervisor for the Town of Brunswick. I'd like to thank you for joining us for this opportunity to share your experiences as a traveler on Hoosick Road. This planning study was initiated because of concerns about traffic congestion and safety along Hoosick Road. With this study, we like to prepare a plan for future improvements to Hoosick Road to improve safety and mobility for all roadway users, including drivers, cyclists, pedestrians, and transit riders. We're very pleased to be partnered with Capital District Transportation Committee, who provided funding and support for this study, and with a consultant team led by Creighton Manning Engineering. The purpose of this online workshop is to receive your comments on the existing transportation conditions in this area, including any specific locations or concerns or ideas for improvements that should be considered as this study progresses. This planning study is just the beginning. Please provide your input now and know that there will be more opportunities to provide input later in the study when recommendations have been developed. At this point, please watch the entire video and complete the survey questions at the end. Tell us what you like about Hoosick Road and what you don't like and what should be different. When you're done, take a moment to view the project website. Again, thank you for your participation and your interest that we all share in making Hoosick Road a better facility for all our users. At this point, I'd like to hand things off to Sandy Misowitz, the Executive Director of the Capital District Transportation Committee, to say a few words.
Thank you, Phil. I'm Sandy Misowitz, Executive Director of the Capital District Transportation Committee, and welcome to the first online public workshop for the Hoosick Road Corridor Study. CDTC is the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Capital Region, which provides federal transportation funding for planning studies such as this through our Community and Transportation Planning Linkage Program. We're thrilled to be working with the town of Brunswick on this important study to not only those of you who live locally, but to those that use Hoosick Road from other parts of the region and beyond. This study intends to develop recommendations that will make the Hoosick Road corridor safer and more efficient for all roadway users. I'd like to thank those who have contributed so far and look forward to hearing your ideas and suggestions for this study. Please watch this video and complete the survey at the end so that your voice can be heard. There will be a second opportunity to weigh in on the draft recommendations later this year. Thanks again for taking the time to watch and participate. And now I'd like to introduce Jesse Vogel from our lead consulting firm, Creighton Manning, who will guide you through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you everyone for joining us to learn about the Hoosick Road Corridor Study. We'll start here by taking a look at the study area. You can see in blue, our primary focus is the Hoosick Road Corridor, which is also New York Route 7, from Lake Avenue in the city of Troy to Sweet Milk Creek Road in the town of Brunswick. Also, shown in red, we're looking at the adjacent neighborhoods to account for any potential spillover effects. Here we have our project schedule, which we started in fall of 2022 and progressed the existing conditions and future need assessment, which we're presenting today. And now we're in the public involvement phase where we get your input. After we receive your input, we'll start developing concepts and recommendations, and then we'll have another opportunity for public comment on those before we're publishing a report in fall of 2023. Here's the draft study purpose that was developed with the project team and study advisory committee. The purpose is generally to reduce traffic congestion, improve safety, and improve multi-mobility within the study area. In conditions, we take a look at the zoning and land use. You can see on the left the zoning for the town of Brunswick, which shows that the corridor is primarily zoned commercial with some residential uses set back. On the right, we see the actual land use in the corridor, which generally follows the zoning. It's important to note that there are some vacant parcels in the corridor, which we do account for in our traffic forecasts. Relative to Hoosick Road itself, it's 3 to 4 lanes, depending on where you are in the corridor, and ranges from 60 to 70 feet wide, including the sidewalks, which are generally present on both sides of the road. There's 6 traffic signals in the study area, and they have varying coordination parameters, meaning that they are timed to correspond to each other. Conducted traffic counts for a week-long period on Hoosick Road in December to get an idea of when traffic was the heaviest to use in our modeling. I see that we have 3 locations shown on the screen where we our counts, and that Friday volumes were typically the highest, followed by weekdays. The data also showed that traffic is heaviest in the western portion of the corridor and generally declines as you move to the east. Taking a closer look at the data that we collected, we wanted to see what times of day had the highest traffic volumes. You can see here that traffic generally increases around 6 a.m. and then stays relatively flat throughout the midday. Weekday traffic peaks in the early afternoon around 4 p.m., while Friday traffic peaks a bit earlier around noon. And so this informed our future data collection of when we went and conducted intersection turning movement counts that fed our traffic model. Once we calibrated our existing traffic model, we then forecast traffic volumes to the year 2045 to account for potential growth. We took a look at historic traffic trends, which showed that traffic has generally increased over the past decade. We coordinated with CDTC using their regional traffic model to develop background growth rate, and then also accounted for any known and potential retail and residential developments that would affect traffic in the corridor to develop our 2045 traffic volumes that we use to model our future year. Use that model to develop vehicle level of service, which is a letter grade from A to F. Corresponds to how much delay drivers typically experience at an intersection. Level of services A and B have less delay, while level of services C, D are moderate, and E and F are long delays. You can see on the right an image of the corridor that shows the intersections with their delay. The color on the left shows the overall intersection operations, meaning every single approach, while the color on the right shows some of the side street or turning movement approaches. And you can see that the intersections on the western portion of the corridor generally have higher overall delays, while almost all intersections have some approaches operating at level of service E and F, whether it's the side street or a turning movement. In addition to level of service, we took a look at travel time reliability using data from the National Performance Management Research Dataset, or NPM RDS. That data shows that the corridor does experience high levels of congestion, which occurs not only on weekdays, but also on Fridays and weekends. The data also confirmed that congestion is typically worse in the western portion of the corridor, and that traffic is slightly worse in the eastbound direction. And you can see a graph here showing the time of day where congestion occurs. Generally follows the traffic volume graphs that we saw earlier, where it increases throughout the day, peaking around that early afternoon period. Beyond the traffic conditions, we took a look at bicycle and pedestrian characteristics. We typically observed 5 to 10 pedestrian crossings per hour at each of the study intersections, although there was much higher activity at Lake Avenue in the city of Troy. Also, there was no pedestrian activity observed at Grange Road. And in general, bicycle activity was lower, with only a few bicyclists observed traveling through the corridor. Relative to public transit, CDTA operates Route 87 through the corridor, which serves downtown Troy, RPI, and Hoosick Road up to Walmart. You can see the ridership in the chart in the upper right corner, which shows that the Walmart stop, which is the end of the line, has the highest overall stop activity, but other stops in the corridor are also well used. We also took a look at safety in the corridor by examining crash data provided by a DOT. The map on the right shows the locations of all crashes in the corridor, while the charts on the left summarize the crash types and the collision types. There were 9 pedestrian and bicycle crashes in the corridor, while the majority were collisions with motor vehicles. Relative to the collision type, rear ends were the most common collision type. There were also right angle crashes and overtaking crashes. Interestingly, the overtaking crashes generally occurred on the western portion, just past the Lake Avenue intersection, where Hoosick Road transitions from 2 eastbound lanes to 1 eastbound lane. And with that, we'd like your feedback. Please let us know what's most important to you, what changes or improvements you'd like to see in the corridor, or any other transportation problems or concerns that you have in the study area. visit the study website, hoosickroadstudy.com, and take the survey. Thank you.